across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Now listen, I'm going to have to be quick tonight because I've got to nip down to Windsor because I've been invited to the state banquet tonight. So you'll have to do without me for most of the evening. I'll let you know how it goes. Oh no, I haven't been invited. Everybody else has. These banquets, as I was just saying to Jeremy Kyle, I mean, they cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. We'll try and find out what they're eating in such fine style later on. But good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I am your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 quality hours of breaking news, challenging views and dazzling debate. Get involved, get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 03444991000 or WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I guarantee I'll play your message out. It is Wednesday, September the 17th. Here's what's coming up. Let me ask you this. Should a teacher at a state school be telling her pupils during a politics lesson that she supports proscribed terrorist group Palestine Action and intends to attend an illegal demonstration, thereby breaking the law? If you're worried about what goes on in our classrooms, stay tuned for a story of political impartiality that should concern everyone who is worried about the British education system. That will be at 8 o'clock. I'll be talking to Isabel Oakeshott about that, so stick around for that. It's a hell of a story. In other news, as migrant after migrant earmarked to be sent back to France under two-tier Keir's flagship one-in, one-out scheme lodge successful legal challenges to their deportations, the government hilariously insists that this utter fiasco is, and I quote, not a shambles. What the hell is it then? 03444991000. At least 2 planes that were supposed to be flying our uninvited visitors back to France from whence they came have not taken off, or they've taken off without any migrants on board. What a joke. 03444991000. But while Starmer's broken Britain seems unable to get a single illegal foreigner into the air, France is set to start sending us their migrant rejects on Saturday. You couldn't make this stuff up, could you? So it's no UK migrants out, but lots of French migrants in. Roll up for the Claire Clown Show, a sick comedy of errors where everything goes catastrophically wrong. How much longer can this ludicrously, comically incompetent Prime Minister last? 03444991000. Also tonight, while Starmer bows and scrapes to Donald Trump on his state visit, protests abound, and pipsqueak London Mayor Sadiq Khan writes a semi-literate, cliché-ridden article for the obscure Guardian newspaper, peppered with his favourite insult, far right. Khan believes Trump has done more than anyone to spread what he calls divisive far-right politics. That's what £170,000 a year Khan thinks. Does anyone care? No, me neither. Britain's highest-paid politician thinks that. Why is this poisonous little man who has ruined London, why is he Britain's highest-paid politician? Earns about £3 more than the Prime Minister, having secured a pay rise last week, £5 more. £5 pay rise, so he now earns £170,000 a year, £3 more than the Prime Minister. He is Britain's highest-paid politician. Anyone got any understanding, any idea why? 03444991000, because I haven't. Still with Trump derangement syndrome, I'll bring you the funniest protest of them all. It's a brilliant video. Get your popcorn ready. Plus, the shocking saga of the Egyptian migrant who arrived here illegally, was living at a West London Hilton hotel at taxpayers' expense, went to Hyde Park and brutally raped a vulnerable young woman who was walking home after a night out. Meanwhile, back on the illegal migrant front line in Epping, An asylum seeker has been arrested after being caught on a local girls' school grounds. Great, isn't it? Amid talk that he was a resident at the Essex town's notorious Bell Hotel, this incident is certain to fire up fury among local residents who have been staging angry protests over the unknown foreign men in their midst. 03444991000. Also tonight, more disturbing evidence that free speech is under serious threat thanks to a Labour government that sends people to jail for tweets. I'll talk to a freelance journalist who remains under criminal investigation for social media posts about a former cop due to appear in court on allegations of harassment. She was just reporting the facts, but the police launched a probe into her for harassing the ex-Rosa accused of harassment. What is going on in this country? Is it turning into North Korea? 03444991000. Her story is chilling, it really is. We'll bring you that a bit later as well. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now, on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday night together. And we got a newbie for you tonight. Really pleased about this. For the first hour, I'm going to be joined, or I will presently be joined by barrister and I would say political commentator. We want his views not just as a lawyer, but also as a citizen of this benighted country. A warm welcome to Stephen Barrett. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
As I say, I want to stress, there are a couple of stories where your legal nous will come in very handy, but you're here as a citizen of this country and an astute observer of what the hell is going on right now. So first off, let's talk about the one-in, one-out shambles. Hilariously, the Home Office, the government issued a statement saying the one-in, one-out scheme is not a shambles. It's like, well, what the hell is it? This will obviously involve your legal knowledge as well, but let's go through the facts. Last night, a third migrant successfully blocked his deportation to France, an Eritrean who incredibly said, well, you can't, if you send me back to France, France doesn't do all the nice things that Britain does for migrants. France doesn't give us hotels, doesn't give us free food, free doctors, free healthcare, free lawyers to fight our case. France doesn't give us any of that. So if you send me back to Paris or to France, I'll be destitute. And a judge said, well, you got a fair point there. So he didn't go back. So we've now had 2 Air France flights, which were supposed to have several migrants on them. Every single one of these migrants has successfully lodged an 11th hour last-minute legal challenge, either on grounds of modern slavery, but also citing the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. I don't like to say I told you so, Stephen, but I said this from the very beginning. I said, this scheme, what's going to happen is, and I'll be interested in your take on this. I said there's going to be 2 lines of legal attack. So what we're talking about with this scheme is ridiculous anyway. It's no deterrent. Quite clearly, it's not a deterrent. It came in at the beginning of August, and since then, over 5,500 migrants have come across the channel, not particularly deterred, obviously. But here's how it goes. Of these migrants that arrive, the government's proposing to take 1 in every 17 randomly and say, well, you're for the high jump. You're the one. You're the unlucky one who's going back to France. You're going to get deported. Now, first of all, I would say that any lawyer worth his salt would say, hang on a second, that is patently not fair. If a judge then says, well, I don't really care, he's going to get deported as well, the lawyer is then going to say, well, also, we've got human rights, we've got the ECHR, we've got modern slavery, I play that card, my client stays. So you've got these 2 very strong reasons that I think lawyers could always argue. This isn't a non-starter. But first of all, let me know what you think about my idea. That I'm not a lawyer, but my first line of attack would be, where is the fairness of you just randomly picking my client out of 17 people and saying he's the unlucky one? Any judge is going to go, you're right, that's not fair. Justice is about fairness, isn't it? There's no fairness in that.
I think that's a very good point. I also think it's about time that you and the rest of the non-lawyers stop pretending that lawyers were special and stop deferring to us and stop worrying about the fact that
It's
you're
all right,
not
Stephen, I
lawyers.
don't.
Good.
No,
good.
no.
Because you realise this is absolute nonsense. I mean, as a lawyer, and I like to think of myself as a competent one, I look across and I am told that Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, is a lawyer. I am told that the Prime Minister is a lawyer. I am told that Lord Hermit is a lawyer. Well, all three of them, if they were in any way competent at all, would know that this was going to fail. And just to take you through this, Kevin, I mean, I think why ordinary people have wised up to this is we had Rwanda Plan 1 under Boris, okay? Now, I warned that that was going to fail. It then went to the Supreme Court and it failed. Well, you know, slow hand clap. Well done. Because we've written that, and not because we can't do any of these things, but because as our laws are currently structured, we can't do anything. So unless you fix the laws, which any competent lawyer should know, you're not going to do any of these things. We then had Rwanda Scheme 2. Now, I told, just so you know, I had private conversations with the Rishi governments and I told them that scheme would fail. They didn't listen, so I published that in The Spectator, and I'm still right. Suella and Rob Jenrick resigned. Because they noticed, they're both lawyers, by the way, Kevin, and they noticed that this scheme is not going to work. And we didn't quite get the time for Rwanda 2 to not work, because unfortunately the government changed and then Labour scrapped it. But this plan wasn't even Rwanda 2. It's just complete and utter gibberish. They haven't tried to change any domestic laws. They haven't tried to change any of our relationship with international law. The only one that you missed out, and you can't be criticised for this, is that there's an argument called refoulement, which is a French principle whereby you can't deport someone to a place if there's a risk that from that place they might have to go back to the bad place that they fled from. Now, if you want to seriously remove migrants, what you do is you unpick all of these international laws, not just the ECHR, but refoulement and some other things, modern slavery treaties. You unpick them all. You let them float off into the land of international law, which is a land we don't give two hoots about. Once something's not in British domestic law, it's not law here, and our judges are not bound by it, so they won't do anything about it. And then you have domestic law saying that you can get rid of these people however you want to deal with it. And we can do all of this, but they're not doing any of it. So I really am at the stage of saying, the current government has two options. One is that I will call the members of this government who are purportedly lawyers utterly incompetent, and they can either live with that, or we're going to have to admit that they knew all along it would fail.
Yeah, exactly right. By the way, so I'm liking your shirt and your braces. Look.
Oh!
Look at that. Check it out.
I thought I was alone.
You see, we were born to broadcast together, Stephen.
Clearly.
But here's another thing, right? Obviously, the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, makes it very difficult for us to do anything forthright with our migrants. You know, it absolutely hampers us. I heard a lawyer, another one of your fine profession, earlier today on Ian Collins's show, and he was going on about, oh, you know, for God's sake, you know, the ECHR human rights are so important, and you know, if you don't stand up for human rights with the ECHR, then it could be you next, and all this kind of thing. Now, where this is a nonsense, in my view, is twofold. First of all, as long as we're in the ECHR, we can't quite make sovereign decisions. Another court can come in from a foreign court, if you like, the ECHR, and overrule us. So the good thing to do would be to leave the ECHR. And then everybody goes, like this lawyer, they say, oh, what about human rights? What about human rights? Well, you know, America is obsessed with human rights. Australia is obsessed with human rights. New Zealand is obsessed with human rights. And I could carry on. Now, none of those countries are European, obviously, and therefore none of them are in the ECHR. The idea that you have to be in this club to have any kind of commitment to human rights is an absolute nonsense, isn't it? We could pass our own Bill of Human Rights. So leaving the ECHR does not mean by any means that Britain abandons human rights or our belief in human rights. And if we did do that, then we could make our own decisions. Am I right?
Yes, of course you're right. And across Europe in the 1920s and 30s, constitution after constitution, country after country fell to dictatorship, fell to authoritarian left-wing dictatorships of various types, and each was more oppressive than the last. Famously, Hitler becomes the one that we fixate on the most, but look, none of them were happy places. They were all involved in the mass murder of their own citizens. And then at the end of that, we create the convention to try and stop that happening on continental Europe again. Now, look, it never happened here. And there's a very good reason why it never happened here. Because you try and sell to the British public the mass slaughter of their fellow citizens. Go in. I dare anybody to go find a big Wetherspoons and suggest it. They won't have it. The people will reject it. And this is not a trite point. This was Disraeli's approach to conservatism. This is what the Queen Mother knew about the strength of this country. Ordinary working class British people will not put up with a dictator. Well, that's why we don't have one. That's why we never got one. And they certainly won't put up with the monstrosities that dictators then do. So we didn't need a convention. By fighting and bravely winning, I mean, even if we'd lost, it would still prove that we didn't need a convention, because we never did this voluntarily. We never voluntarily mass murdered our citizens. We don't need this code. It's a form of collective brainwashing or replacement religion for my fellow lawyers. But it's also.
Am I right? Sorry to interrupt this thing. So Richard Hermer, the Keir Starmer's human rights lawyer mate, the Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, he was telling Parliament, this is vital, we say in the ECHR. And then he said, for example, Germany using the under the auspices of the ECHR has just managed to it was something about like blocking boat parts coming into the country that were being passed on to people smugglers, and we couldn't have done that without the ECHR. It was about the most feeble reason I've ever heard. But my question to you, Stephen, is I ask this often. It's basically this. What do we get out of being a member of the ECHR? It seems to me that apart from having to be subordinate to a court that can push us around and block our sovereign decisions, we don't actually get anything out of it, do we?
No. Well, we get a bill for several £100 million every year, and one of my fellow lawyers gets to feel terribly self-important and put on a funny costume and be our judge for a little bit. I don't mind telling your listeners and viewers, because I'm starting to get even more honest. We traditionally don't send our best and our brightest, and that's no criticism of this one. He's actually quite good. But it used to be a holding ground for sort of slightly ambitious judges who we didn't want to necessarily promote. And, it wasn't taken seriously. There's no obvious benefit to us unless everybody else in the country is suddenly starting to think about mass murdering their fellow citizens. I don't see the benefit to it. It comes from a political theory amongst lawyers that somehow this will stop a dictator. It demonstrably failed, because Russia was in the ECHR, and it's only been suspended.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
So how did it stop Putin? Go on then, tell me, mates, how this succeeded so well.
It sort of didn't, did it? Let me ask you a last point. It's not so much legal, but really part and parcel of Keir Starmer's hilarious, ludicrous clown show. So, the migrant after migrant this week here that we're trying to deport to France is successfully challenging their deportation. And I predict this will carry on with every single one of them. Nevertheless, as part of the one-in, one-out deal, which is always crap anyway, to be honest with you, it turns out that France is going to stick to its side of the bargain, and on Saturday the word is that a plane load of migrants from France under the one-in, one-out scheme will indeed be heading for Britain. So it looks like the maths will be, the one-in, one-out scheme will be no British migrants out, loads of French migrants in. I mean, it is beyond farce, isn't it?
Yes, which is why they only get two choices, the lawyers in this current government. Either I get to call them stupid and bad lawyers, or they admit that they knew all along this didn't work. because it simply, even on its own terms, it never worked. Why would we get rid of somebody who we might have a small chance of refusing asylum to anyway, and send them across the channel to almost certainly get back on another boat and come across again, which is exactly what we know is going to happen, in order to take in somebody that France has processed, so we haven't processed them. France has every incentive, by the way, to just grant them asylum and then stick them on a plane to us. What incentive has the French got to help us there? And then we have to take them and their entire family. It was always madness. And so far from reducing, immigration was totally out of control. Keir Starmer has come along, and in 14 months, he has only increased it. That's it.
And now it's going to get even worse. Listen, we're going to go to break now, Stephen. A very good start on your part, and very good clothes as well. So we're doing well so far. When we come back, we're going to talk about all the protests against Donald Trump, the predictable protests, but particularly focus on London's pipsqueak mayor, Sadiq Khan. I'll probably get in trouble for this, but he's got a kind of far-right Tourette's. He says far right, you know, about every 3 words. Far right, far right, far right, you know, until it becomes utterly meaningless. I think it's a fairly meaningless phrase anyway. But we'll talk about that and the other protests when we come back. Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, like you say, it's a really good week of Champions League football for the English clubs.
It is. Chelsea and Liverpool coming up tonight. What can you tell us?
Yeah. Well, Chelsea, a particularly difficult start. You know, they've got Bayern Munich. That's a repeat of the final from when Chelsea won it in 2012. Liverpool have got Atletico Madrid, which you may see the first appearance for Alexander Isak, who was left out of Burnley on Sunday, but is in the squad tonight. So I'm sure the Liverpool fans will be looking forward to seeing him.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with barrister Stephen Barrett. Stephen, well, let's talk about generally the protests. What do they call it? The Stop Trump Coalition. So they had some kind of demo today in central London. Last night, quite impressive, really. Somebody beamed onto the walls of there they are, the walls of Windsor Castle, of course, Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, his old pal. They also, at one point, unfurled this huge banner, the size of a football pitch, all over that long thoroughfare walkway that goes up to the gates of Windsor Castle. So, as we always knew, thanks to Keir Starmer's incompetence, his hopelessness over Peter Mandelson, that this visit, this state visit, was going to be all about Donald Trump, Peter Mandelson and their mutual friend, Jeffrey Epstein. The King, we understand, is furious about this. He's furious that he's been put in this embarrassing position. But, it started last night and it's clearly going to go on and on and on throughout the visit until it ends tomorrow night, I believe. But first of all, let's talk about the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who likes to sort of style himself as an old enemy of Donald Trump. I mean, this guy is the pipsqueak mayor of London. Donald Trump is the most powerful human being on the face of the earth. I don't think he worries too much about Sadiq Khan's criticisms. But he's written an article for The Guardian, where else, in which he just uses this term, far right, far right, far right, far right. He's absolutely obsessed with it. He put out something like a 5-paragraph statement yesterday or the day before about the march on the Unite the Kingdom march on Saturday, in which he said he used in 4 or 5 paragraphs he used the term far right 5 times. It's like an obsession for him. So in his Guardian article, not very well written by the way, you won't be surprised to hear, cliche-ridden to say the least, he accused Donald Trump of policies, particularly in terms of his clampdown on cities, on lawlessness in cities. He's done it in LA, he's done it in Washington, and also, of course, the deportation of migrants, the rounding up of migrants. He accused Trump of policies, and I quote, straight out of the autocrat's playbook. But he went on to say in this Guardian article that the American President Trump, has perhaps done the most to fan the flames of divisive far-right politics around the world in recent years. Do you know that character? I don't know if the audience are aware of him. You know that kind of joke character in Private Eye, Dave Spart, the sort of caricature left-wing activist. Well, that's what Sadiq Khan's like. Can you explain to me why it is he just got a pay rise, this little guy, this poisonous little man, up to £170,000 a year, another 5,000 quid a year, he got that pay rise. That makes him the highest paid politician in this country. He's now earning about £3,000 a year more than the Prime Minister. Why is that? Why is this guy, this little guy who writes cliches about far right and divisive nonsense in The Guardian, why is he the highest paid politician in this country?
Well, because as well as building a legal system that's so complicated that we can't actually deal with being invaded by small boats every day, we have built a legal system where power is vested in not just in Parliament, but now in all sorts of other places. And as a devolved power, he has the ability to do all of these things. And, it was probably thought that wanting to win an election might curb his excess. But now that he feels extremely cocky, he's just excess. On the point about far right, I'd like to highlight this for your listeners and viewers. It's very crucial. So when I talk about the countries on the continent falling to different types of authoritarianism, different types of dictatorship, different flavors, if you like, Okay, so Italy fell to what we call corporate socialism, which is the hand-in-glove relationship between the dictator, the state, and large corporates. And Russia fell to international socialism, and the international socialists survived the war, so they're very important. They're Marxists, what you know as Marxists. Hitler with Nazism is different. He's quite similar to Mussolini and fascism, but he's a national socialist, so he uses nationalism much more. Now, if you've ever met any socialist, they will immediately tell you that X, who is also a socialist, is not a real socialist like them. They fall out like anybody's business.
They hate each other, don't they?
Of course they hate each other. And actually, I mean, that was key to us winning the war, so it was rather good that Hitler and Stalin eventually fell out. We got pluses from that. But they fell out massively. The international socialists absolutely loathe the national socialists. And they are the ones who keep calling the national socialists far right. They are so angry at them still that they need them to exist. I mean, these people don't exist, right? They're gone. Even the few, Nazis that survived the war and fled to wherever are gone. They're old now. They're gone. And neither you nor I nor anybody in our fair island is far right or a Nazi in any way. I mean, maybe there might be one up in the Highlands if we desperately scoured for him or her. But this is just not a thing.
On a serious note, there's a big problem here. And it sort of plays into the Charlie Kirk tragedy last week. It is that people like Sadiq Khan, these pious, sanctimonious narcissists on the left, our politics are the politics of love. You on the right, that's the politics of hate. What a load of claptrap. However, there is a problem that people like Sadiq Khan, if you're a conservative, a centrist, if you like, I would consider myself, for example, to be right of centre, not much more than that. I'm pretty liberal about a lot of social issues. Some people might say I'm a bit left-wing. But I would consider myself to be, not that many people, I would consider myself to be right of centre, centrist. Because I'm right of centre, Sadiq Khan has only got one term for me: far right. There's no such thing in the lexicon of people like Sadiq Khan as someone who is right-wing, someone who is right of centre. Everyone who is right of centre is far right. Now, there's a comical element to that. It's ridiculous. He just deals in cliches. He cannot see the complexity of the human condition, if you like. But so you can pour contempt on that, which I unreservedly do. But it leads to what happened to Charlie Kirk. If you're going to demonise everyone who isn't left-wing as some kind of far-right extremist, it promotes an atmosphere that leads to violence and assassination. So it would be nice, he won't do it, but it would be nice if Sadiq Khan and people like him dialed back on this rhetoric.
Yes, I had to watch, as many people watched, a young dad bleed out on a stage because a demented killer got lucky with a carotid artery hit or whatever it was. I'm not a doctor, but it was
carotid
a lucky
artery. Yeah, apparently with the carotid artery, we found out, I was on air when it happened. A very dramatic night, but we found out that if you get hit in the carotid artery, it is literally the worst place to be hit. You have less than a minute to stem the bleeding or you're gone.
Bless him. And we have there's a little 3-year-old girl now on the planet who's asking where her daddy is.
And a little boy. He's got 2 kids.
And a little boy. And this is unbelievable stuff. And it was caused by this type of rhetoric. They've gone on at us for years about dog whistles and, dangerous rhetoric. Well, they've been the ones spewing the dangerous rhetoric. Sadiq Khan should withdraw this article, and he should apologise for the rhetoric in it. I strongly suspect it's come out so that he can distract us with this, because he's under investigation and under questioning about the grooming gang scandals rape gang scandals in London. Yeah. So very convenient for him to suddenly have a spat with Trump and cause a lot of distraction and noise. Yeah. But we need to stop We need to go back to being all well. I mean, I've got friends who are very left wing. I don't attack them. I don't criticize them. I don't try and create an environment in which they are killed. That's not what you do. We all go down the pub together. We need to go back to this world where being right wing and centre right is not something. If you think that those people are wrong, like Charlie Kirk, debate them. But this poison, this toxicity that they have created, they've given the funniest thing, Kevin, is they've given me this language because they're the ones who've done it all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind calling Sadiq Khan, I call him a pipsqueak, poisonous little man. I think, you can't exonerate the right to call the left names as well. But and the hurly-burly of politics, I think you should be able to, hurl a few comedy insults and so on and so forth. But there's something about the way the left attacks the right. As I say, it's based on their worldview, their ludicrous ethos, that because they're left-wing, they're saintly. They're wonderful people. They are the people of love. And because we are right-wing, we're the people of hate. To be right-wing is to be full of hate. And that is what it would be nice to cure people like Sadiq Khan of. But
and I'll just flag, Kevin, that both the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church got themselves into a lot of trouble about what happened and abuse of young children because they both thought that they were too good and too saintly to do anything wrong. And when humans think that they're too good and too saintly, they start doing nasty things.
Yeah, that's why Sadiq Khan goes to town whenever someone like Donald Trump turns up in Britain, because what he's actually doing is he's sort of saying, he's hateful, he's vile, but look at me, I'm just polishing my halo, I am so wonderful. It's not actually about Trump, it's about Sadiq Khan loving himself. That's what a lot of these left-wingers are like. Let's go to break and let's talk about some of the more imaginative protests that have been unfolding since Donald Trump arrived last night. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Barrister Stephen Barrett. We're running through a very busy schedule, a lot of big stories going on. Stephen, again, back to what you might call Trump derangement syndrome and all the protests going on. As I was broadcasting last night live as the president was approaching on Air Force One, about to get a helicopter down into London to the American ambassador's fabulous residence in Regent's Park. Some protesters managed somehow to project this huge image of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together. As I said earlier, they also unfurled this huge banner across the walkway that approaches Windsor Castle. My first question to you is, where's the security? How did they manage to do this, do you think?
So we are, despite the best attempts of 30 years of socialism, we are still a free country. So even though that is Windsor Castle, outside Windsor Castle are shops and hotels, and I'm pretty sure that's coming from a hotel bedroom.
Yeah.
Just so listeners and viewers know, I've been to the Spoons in Windsor, and it's also quite near that location. But it's
I have too. Do you want to know what? I'll tell you why I've been to Witherspoons in Windsor. I once, as part of a feature for Talk Radio back in the day, I went and spent a night on the streets with a homeless guy. So I literally found out what it was like to be homeless, and we did it in Windsor. And when the sun came out, I've never been more relieved in my life. And the homeless guy I was with, very nice guy, I said, right, I'll take you to breakfast. And we went to Witherspoon. So I have happy memories of that place. It was when my ordeal was over. But anyway, these people have been charged on suspicion of malicious communication. Is that?
I think they've been arrested. And then what you have to know is that
arrested on suspicion of malicious. Yeah. Will that stick, Stephen? Will that stick?
Well, because our law is a massive rat's nest, there's probably a law in there somewhere that they've broken. That's the danger of these people. They do this because they believe that their political friends will protect them. Now, that's a very serious question, because this group is linked to Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, who has to make a decision on whether or not they're charged. So this is starting to be, I think this is going to evolve into a political crisis, a major political crisis for Lord Hermer, as he has to explain what charging decisions are made, what steps he took to make sure he wasn't involved. Does he step down temporarily from his role? Does he ask his deputy to do this? Can we trust the deputy? Do we know her background with this group? You know, these are all the questions that are going to start coming out. Ultimately, these people, it is a derangement syndrome. It's an entitlement where they felt able to interrupt Mr. Trump's visit. I have a very strong affection for President Trump because he's one of the few politicians I can find on the planet who actually cares about our country. I mean, I certainly don't see it in my government.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the Americans. You're absolutely right. Donald Trump cares about this country. So does J.D. Vance. They care about the erosion of our freedom of speech. And by the way, may he rest in peace, so did Charlie Kirk in a major way. All these Americans, they fear for what's happening in this country. I do. I'm sure you do too. Unfortunately, our Labour government not only don't seem to fear for the erosion of our freedom of speech and freedom of expression, they seem to be encouraging it.
They do, and that group that projected that is linked to this Labour government. And, there's strong
suspicion... Led by donkeys, they're called, aren't they?
Yeah, there's strong suspicion that they receive public funding as well. So there's all sorts of other... And this all needs to come out in the light of day. We need to really uncover this. If we're ever going to be free, we need to fix our laws and fix whatever's going on behind the scenes. Because by telling us all to look away and not pay any attention or worry our little heads about it, it looks as though the whole thing's got very rotten indeed.
Indeed. Listen, we're going to go to break now, but I've got a quick message for you guys or you people Led by Donkeys. This was an organisation, left-wing organisation, campaigners, fabulous tweets they put out. I blocked them years ago. They're not funny. They think they are. Anyway, they formed themselves during the Tory years, 14 years. So they called themselves Led by Donkeys because of our Tory governments. Well, my message to them is, I kind of agree with you. We were led by donkeys during those days, but we sure as hell are led by donkeys now that your heroes, the Labour government, are in charge. Got it? Now, let's go to break, Steve. When we come back, a very, very serious story about another case of a migrant coming here, being given an asylum seeker hotel, allowed to stay, and committing the most appalling rape. We need to talk about this next, so stay tuned, everybody.
second day in a row, the flagship one-in, one-out scheme has been scuppered by lawyers, campaign groups, a pressure offensive actually against Air France itself.
Right.
And it seems that at the 11th hour yesterday, with empty pairs of seats dotted around this Air France flight to Charles de Gaulle, absolutely no deportations were taking place, and that became very clear within about 15 seconds of actually getting on the airplane.
So once you got on the plane, there weren't people actually on the plane that then got taken off. They didn't actually get to the plane.
Well, they didn't get to Heathrow.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Barrister Stephen Barrett. Stephen, this plays into probably the biggest fear about our migrant crisis. And that is that, you know, on an almost weekly basis, we're letting in thousands and thousands of young men, and I'll put it this way, the fashion is at this point to say of military age, or let's tell it like it is, thousands and thousands of young men of sexually active age, you know, tend to be in their 20s, early 30s. Now, it has been revealed in the last couple of months that since we've been spraying around these asylum seeker hotels all over the country, that they have been arrested and charged, as many of them, with hundreds of very serious offences, most worryingly sexual offences. Some of them have been convicted. Now, this is the story of an Egyptian migrant who came here illegally in 2023, April 2023. His name is, bear with me, Abdelrahman Abuelela. Abdelrahman Abuelela. It's easy for me to say, isn't it? No, seriously, that's his name. He's 42 years old. Now, he claimed asylum and said he would be persecuted if he was sent back to Egypt. Usual old claptrap. So, of course, he's been living at our expense at the Hilton Hotel in Ealing since April 2023. Last November, he went to London's Hyde Park. 9 p.m, a poor lady who'd been out for a night, she'd had a couple of drinks, she was on her own, and she was walking home. 9 p.m, wasn't like, anyway, she was described in court, Southern Crown Court, as alone, inebriated and vulnerable. By the way, she's got every right to have a few drinks on a Saturday night. Why shouldn't she? This guy lured her, got hold of her, lured her into a quiet place and viciously raped her. He has been sentenced now to 8.5 years in jail for this awful rape. Now, the judge, this is what stood out to me. The judge, in sentencing him at Southern Crown Court, said, finding him guilty, he pleaded not guilty, it is clear to me that you do not believe you have done anything wrong. Now, that's the problem. The problem is that these men, many of these young men, they come from countries with very different attitudes to women. To the attitude that we have in this country. There was a case about 6 months ago of an Afghani guy, I think he was about 23. He came here, was immediately billeted, asylum, I claim asylum, I'll be, if you come from Afghanistan, you're almost guaranteed to be allowed to stay. And they billeted him straight away in a hotel up in Falkirk in Scotland. And almost immediately he went out into the town, he got hold of a 15-year-old girl who was genuinely vulnerable, I mean mentally vulnerable, pulled around the back of a local pub and viciously raped her. When he got 12 years, his defence was this. Nobody told me that in Britain you have such a different attitude to women that we have in Afghanistan. So do you see what I'm saying? Here we have another example. This guy didn't think he was doing anything wrong by attacking a drunk woman on a Saturday night in Hyde Park. There's a serious problem here, isn't there?
Yes, it's a serious problem. These are a clear and present danger to the safety of women and children in our country. And there's another point I want to make, Kevin, just very from the get-go. I think 8.5 years is pathetic for this, and I think a proper country would be looking at life.
Couldn't agree more, Stephen.
And 12 years for the Falkirk guy, again, life, plus, maybe something extra. We have started to treat sexual offences far too leniently. This is not how I think any of us normal people think. This is an educated, isolated elite who have taken control of sentencing, and they sentence how they think it is appropriate.
Bearing in mind, Stephen, sorry to interrupt, that he gets 8 years, he'll be out in 4, won't he?
Well, they had a vote yesterday where the government voted that they'd only serve a third of their sentence for paedophilia and sex crimes. So I don't know whether this one technically applies, but they did that, which is a blatant statement to the nation. But the point that you made, to go back to your question, isn't it disgraceful that my lords, the supposedly respectable judges and lawyers, and a court of appeal judge, somebody that the nation should hold in the highest regard, he said that our fears about our safety that stem from these migrants, he said that they're not wholly irrelevant. Right. How kind. How? Oh, thank you, my lord. How very generous of you to notice that fears about being raped or murdered or attacked, because we have had murders from asylum seekers.
Yeah.
This is not unfounded. He said that they're not completely irrelevant.
So they're fairly irrelevant, but not wholly irrelevant.
Well,
thank you, Your Honour.
He went on to say, but they are outweighed by the needs of the migrants. So I'm afraid that is, as far as I'm concerned, saying that they're irrelevant. If my fears, if our legitimate fears, and there were events down in Epping today that no doubt more will come out in the following days, but I want these migrants declared what we in law call prima facie risk. So on the face of it, we should assume they are a risk, particularly if they have no documents and we don't know who they are.
Yeah.
That is just common sense as far as I'm concerned. That's what my granny would have said and would have wanted to do. If you've got a bunch of young men and as you say, lounging around in hotels full of food, so they've got nothing really to do, they're going to cause trouble. The devil makes work for idle hands. When did we forget all of these truths?
I'll tell you, Steve, you're exactly right. We're going to do a story a little later. I'm going to talk to Isabel Oakeshott about it. Now, in Epping, where I believe 2 asylum seekers at the Bell Hotel. The tally is now 2 asylum seekers there have been arrested on suspicion of sexual offences. One attacked or tried to kiss some 14-year-old girl. He was immediately arrested and placed in custody. I think he might have been gone to trial already.
One of them's been convicted.
Yeah, that's him. He's been convicted. Another one was arrested and I think has been charged. Well, we've learned today, just to underline that this syndrome about these guys that we're letting in the country, we don't know anything about them. The first thing they do, they throw their documents and their passports and everything into the English Channel. It's part and parcel of their technique. We process them, put them in a hotel, and basically say, well, enjoy yourself. Do it what you... We don't know anything about them. We've had cases. There was a case in Bournemouth of some guy who turned up and said he was a schoolboy, that he was 15 or something. Turned out to be like 32, and he'd already committed 2 murders in Serbia. We only found that out after he murdered someone in Bournemouth, and so on and so forth. So what's happened in Epping, we're going to cover this story a little later, is another migrant, it's believed to be a migrant, possibly a resident at the notorious Bell Hotel, the centre of all these protests. We don't know this for sure, but it is thought he may be from the Bell Hotel. He's certainly an asylum seeker or a migrant. He's been found prowling around the grounds of a girls' school there. So he's just been arrested today. That's happened today. This is incredibly worrying, and it makes you want to say to the government, you know, how much longer are you going to carry on with these policies that are making the streets of this entire country unsafe, well, pretty much for everyone, but certainly, mostly and most worryingly, women and children? How much longer are we going to do this?
And instead, Kevin, they will try and find some technical error that you've made. So our police, this is the problem. We're getting a breakdown in our relationship with authorities because we're being lied to, often through technicality of the truth. So do you remember there was the officer who was asked about the now Migrant Hotel in Canary Wharf? Are migrants in here? And he went, no. It's like, right, are they coming? I don't think there are any. I don't know of any plans to bring migrants here. It's like, okay, you're dishonest. The chief constable,
they're almost walking behind him at the time, weren't they?
Well, exactly.
Filing into the hotel.
He did the greatest lie by truth I've ever seen, which is to take the technical point. They didn't bust the protesters. Somehow he's the victim. If you say that they bust, if you sloppily say bust in, then he's the victim now, and he can claim that you've made some technical error. You know, we know that they jumped on these two. There were two by the schools, and it's schools. It's four. I've had reports of 4 from a source I trust. It's 2, and one of them was arrested by the police, and the police are desperate to tell us that he's just a migrant who sleeps rough. He's not from the Bell Hotel. Well, I mean, sorry, I'm still scared about migrants who sleep rough.
Yeah,
by the way,
frankly,
they bailed him.
So what? Yeah.
But I bet you a tenner, Kevin, that the other one's from the Bell Hotel, and they want to tell us if this one's not from the Bell Hotel.
Yeah, well,
they're just. These technical points are useless. Have some common sense to keep us safe.
It's a very, very interesting point. I mean, my suspicion is this guy who's been arrested in a girls' school today probably is at the Bell Hotel. But once again, you know, they're sort of shrouding the whole operation in secrecy. They won't tell us. They hate to tell us, oh, it's an asylum seeker, it's a migrant. They hate to tell us that, and so on and so forth. And so the crisis gets ever worse. Stephen, what an excellent hour. You will come and do this again soon, won't you?
I'd be honoured. I'd be deeply
And we must coordinate again, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Stephen, thanks very much. Really good, really good. Stephen Barrett, barrister there. When I come back, I'm going to be talking to Isabel Oakeshott about this extraordinary story about a teacher who told her pupils all about how much she loved Palestine action. Extraordinary. That next, stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of tonight's Political Asylum. In 45 minutes, actually, I'm going to be taking your calls. We usually take them at 8:30, but today we'll take them at 8:45. What the hell? Why not? Let's be different. It's such fun. 03444991000. Got a busy hour for you. For the next half an hour, I'm going to spend it in the excellent company of our friend, the international editor here at Talk, Isabel Oakeshott, and we have a very, very important, serious story to discuss first. In a little while, 20 minutes or so, I will discuss with her the story I just alluded to with Stephen Barrett, and that is that a migrant, an asylum seeker, we believe, has been arrested, caught prowling around a girls' school in Epping, of all places, of all places. Now that is going to stir up some serious emotions in that area. Of course, that is the town that has been protesting against the Bell Hotel, the unknown foreign men, hundreds of foreign men who have been imposed on that nice Essex town near Epping Forest. They, of course, won that court ruling, didn't they, to have that hotel closed down. Not fair to the local community. Of course, the government, Labour government, we're going to close all the asylum hotels. That's our policy, and we promise. What did they do? They went to court to get that ruling on closing the Bell Hotel overruled so they could keep it open. So I think you can take their pledge to close asylum seeker hotels by 2029 with a massive pinch of salt. So we'll talk about this new, extremely worrying, chilling incident with Isabel in just a little while. And at 8, and then at 8:30, I'm going to bring you a story of it's another one of these freedom of speech stories, a journalist who is under investigation for tweeting accurate news about a story about a ex-copper being investigated for harassment. It's accurate. She's now being investigated for harassing that copper who's due to appear in court. Unbelievable. I'll tell you all about that a little later. Now, as I say, very important story to discuss now. So first of all, let me welcome to the show our international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Isabel.
Good evening.
Now, let's take this step by step. We can tell you, folks, this, that at a school, a state school, a female teacher recently told her pupils, their sixth form pupils, it was a politics lesson. We're not going to name this teacher. We'll tell you the school in a minute, but we're not going to name the teacher. She told her pupils, this is extraordinary, she said, Palestine Action, yeah, I support Palestine Action. Palestine Action, of course, being a proscribed illegal terrorist group. And that she was going down to a demonstration in London to show her support and to test out whether or not she would get arrested for this. Now, first of all, I'd like to ask you all what you think about that. Should a teacher in a state school be talking to her pupils about her intention, her support for an illegal terrorist group and her intention to break the law by publicly supporting this group? That's one element. She went on to sort of mock the government for the many arrests, hundreds of arrests, I think it might be over 1,000 arrests, that have unfolded during these demonstrations in support of Palestine Action. It's become a kind of test case. And she said, no one's been charged. Well, they can't, can they? And so on and so forth. She also impugned the Metropolitan Police, because the Metropolitan Police, in policing these events, they said they issued an official statement saying that these Palestine Action supporters, the coppers who were policing that event, were spat at, punched and abused. This teacher told her pupils that there's no evidence that this happened, and she suggested that the Met Police, in telling these stories of abuse and spit and being spat at and punched, were sort of telling lies at the government's behest. Now, is that the sort of thing that a teacher should be telling kids in her classroom? Now, these are not little kids. These are 17-year-olds. They're year 13, sixth formers. However, she's talking about, I'm going to break the law. I support this illegal organisation. The police are liars, and they're working at the government's behest. She told this to her pupils. Isabel, it strikes me that this is very much the sort of thing that should never happen in a state school classroom.
Or indeed any school classroom. I think this is a shocking story, and I'm afraid it lifts the lid on what I think is probably happening to a greater or lesser extent in many educational establishments, schools, universities, whatever it may be. Of course, it's particularly shocking in this case that these are sixth formers. These are not college students. And here you have somebody in a position of trust and responsibility, someone that you'd hope that pupils look up to, who is, in my view, having heard what she said, in my view, is sort of legitimizing supporting Palestine Action. Now, it is a proscribed group because of its links with terror organizations. And she's sort of pretty blasé, saying, you know, I'm going to go on down there. I have put my name down, is what she says, for the next Palestine Action March, which is in October. She says, I haven't told the office yet, meaning her colleagues at school, but that's what I'm doing. And there's no doubt she said this. You know, we have an audio recording of it. We've decided not to name her, but there's no sort of question mark over the authenticity of this. The school have said that they are taking this very seriously, that they're investigating. If there's some wider context to this, I've yet to hear it. The school has had an opportunity to give us some excuses, or her excuses, and they haven't come back with that. So, you know, I find this pretty disturbing, actually, because she made such light of it in the lesson, and perhaps she said elsewhere, I don't know, perhaps she said elsewhere, by the way, kids, this is really illegal, but I'm afraid I don't believe she did, because in the extract that I've heard of the lesson, she basically says, let's see if I get arrested.
Indeed, and I should stress to the audience, we're bringing you this story because we believe that it is a story in the public interest. So we have a recording, as Isabel quite rightly says. We have to stress that this teacher didn't know she was being recorded, but this is why we're bringing in the story, because it is in the public interest. We believe very seriously that this is not the sort of thing that a teacher, as Isabel said, at any school, but certainly a state school, should be telling her kids. Now, the school we're talking about is called the College of West Anglia. And we put all this to the college, to the school, this afternoon. And they have come back to us with this comment. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We take these allegations very seriously, and we are currently investigating the matter. And of course, we will keep you updated on that. Now, without actually suggesting that this teacher, is guilty of what we're going to discuss now, what this does play into, Isabel, is this. And I'm not in any way pointing the finger at this particular teacher, but you know, I know, politicians know, many people around the country know that millions of parents are very worried about left-wing teachers effectively brainwashing their kids. And if this is the sort of thing that is being taught in British classrooms, we've got a lot to worry about, haven't we?
I think so, and it was actually very interesting as part of the research for this story, looking at what the government tells schools are their obligations when it comes to dealing with political matters. I actually wasn't that familiar with both the law and the guidance on this from the Department for Education. It's actually really specific, and it goes into quite a lot of details with examples. You know, for example, if there have been protests, what should and shouldn't teachers say to pupils? And I actually think the existing guidance is very sensible. It emphasises how important it is for teachers in any political discussion to give both sides of the story, but it also repeatedly says that they should not encourage or promote any criminal action. Now, we're not sure whether this does or doesn't amount to either of those things. I think probably, in my opinion, it stops a little bit short of promoting it. But what I would say is it's in danger of legitimising criminal activity, because she is a teacher in a position of trust and authority, and she is saying, I'm going to break the law. And I think that at the very least, I think we can agree, sets an extremely bad example to pupils, or if I'm going to be very generous, appears to do so.
Yes, that and stating her intention to break the law and her support of an illegal terrorist group. That cannot happen. That cannot be allowed to happen in British classrooms. You know, kids, jokes aside, kids often look up to their teachers. And a teacher making this kind of statement could be seen to be influencing their pupils in an extremely worrying, dangerous direction. Honestly, we don't know what else happened in this lesson. I mean, perhaps she turned round after saying this, but you mustn't do this, kids. Even if she did say that, that isn't good enough. That isn't good enough. I mean, look, she's entitled to hold these opinions, illegal though they are. You can make a decision to break the law. She's clearly making a decision, like many of these other Palestine Action protesters, to break the law. That's her private right. She has a right to do that. She's putting herself in legal danger, but it's a free country, just about anyway. So she can take that risk. But she should keep that sort of thing to herself, shouldn't she? Not share it with pupils. Now, these are 17-year-old kids, so I really don't want to be patronising towards them. You know, let's face it, pretty soon they're going to be able to vote. But, you are talking about people at an impressionable stage of their lives, at the formative years of their lives. These are the kind of thoughts that can stick in a young mind, and she could be guilty of steering her kids in a very wrong direction, I would suggest.
I think that's right, and I think that it just plays into a broader theme of what is happening inside our schools, which there are stories about fairly periodically about the kind of stuff that pupils are being taught. I've got my own experience from my own children in the classroom in the UK, where there's been clear political bias shown by teachers. And actually, at the time, I wasn't aware of how strong the guidance is on this, and indeed the law on this for schools. And it isn't just for state schools, it's actually amongst independent providers as well. The law is very, very strict on political impartiality in schools, and I think it's quite clearly being flouted in numerous settings every single day by teachers in different ways. And this is just, I personally think this is quite an extreme example of it. In fact, the Department of Education information for schools about this is very clear that political impartiality isn't just about political parties. It can also apply to the way that teachers educate children about groups, including protest groups. And I'm sure that includes illegal protest groups.
Exactly, and you and I have been pouring through the Department of Education guidelines for teachers when discussing such issues, and they're long and they're quite impressive, actually.
They are. If only they were followed.
I fear they're not followed to the letter, and certainly they haven't been here. But you know, we don't know what the college is going to do about this. I think they've sort of indicated they're going to keep in touch with us. But I think you can tell from their reaction, and I'm going to pay tribute to them here. They are taking this very seriously, and I think they're very worried. So I will give them that, and I would hope that the College of West Anglia, at the very least, is going to talk to this woman and just say, you can't talk to your kids, your pupils like this anymore. Now, that said, I think it's perfectly legitimate, particularly for 17-year-old kids, 17-year-old pupils, for a teacher to discuss the Palestine action issue. It's a politics. You know, you could discuss it, but not in the way that she did. And to go back to the other element of this, when she suggests, well, more than suggests, to her pupils, that the Met Police, when they said that Palestine Action protesters spat at them, punched them and abused them, she said there's absolutely no evidence of this, as if the Met Police are lying. And then she goes on to suggest that perhaps the Met Police are sort of working at the behest of the government. I mean, again, this is seditious stuff to be telling school pupils.
That's very political. Those comments are very political. Now, I think it would be fine if she then said, of course, they may not be, you know, that's just my perspective. There's another side to this. But she didn't do that from what we know. And I would have thought, really, if there was a whole other explanation, the school would have probably been pretty quick to share it. So I just think this is deeply questionable, deeply questionable, and tells you a lot about the leanings of our educational institutions.
Yeah, and make no mistake, folks, I'm sure all of you who are parents know exactly what we're talking about here. There are great fears across the country. Teachers, you know, by their very nature, tend to be left-wing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's up to them what their politics are. But what is wrong is if they start trying to brainwash or influence their pupils towards their way of thinking. You know, think like I think. This is what I'm going to do. You've got, you know, I mean, and telling kids that you're about to break the law and that you support a prescribed illegal terrorist group. I mean, that is way beyond the pale, isn't it?
I think that is way beyond the pale. So I think we're going to need to update people on this story as it develops. I'd like to know, hopefully tomorrow we'll get more information. I'd like to know what the school has to say. Is there going to be any kind of disciplinary procedure here, or is there another side to it that hasn't been shared with us? It's definitely one that we'll return to. And yes, what to do with that recording, that's another question, but it is something that we have. Yeah,
and as I say, the reason we're using it, you know, it's not fair that people get recorded without their knowledge, but we are reporting this story once again. I'm telling you this because we think it is in the public interest. I hope that you all agree. If you have any concerns about left-wing teachers brainwashing their pupils, influencing their pupils, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this story, and let me know about your concerns. 0344 499 1000. Isabel, let's go to break now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about this extremely worrying event that's happened in Epping, you know, on the front line of the migrant crisis. A man has been arrested on the grounds of a school there, and naturally feelings are running high in that Essex town. So we'll talk about that next. Stay tuned, folks.
second day in a row, the flagship one-in, one-out scheme has been scuppered by lawyers, campaign groups, a pressure offensive actually against Air France itself.
Right.
And it seems that at the 11th hour yesterday, with empty pairs of seats dotted around this Air France flight to Charles de Gaulle, absolutely no deportations were taking place, and that became very clear within about 15 seconds of actually getting on the airplane.
So once you got on the plane, there weren't people actually on the plane that then got taken off. They didn't actually get to the plane.
Well, they didn't get to Heathrow.
Yeah, like you say, it's a really good
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Isabel, earlier in the show, I discussed with Stephen Barrett, the barrister, who was our guest for the first hour, this shocking story of the Egyptian migrant who came here in April 2023, was, of course, being put up at our expense at the Hilton Hotel in Ealing in West London. He's an asylum seeker here on the basis that if we returned him to Egypt, he said he would be persecuted, politically persecuted. He went up to London, went to Hyde Park, and one Saturday night, poor girl, lady, walking back after a night out, it was only 9 p.m, he sort of pushed her into the bushes and viciously raped her. He's just got 8.5 years, which is nowhere near enough, by the way.
No.
Now, that plays into what our big fears are about the migrant crisis. We keep letting in thousands and thousands of young men of sexually active age who mostly hail from cultures that are very different to ours. They have very different attitudes to women. This Egyptian guy, the judge said to him that he felt, the judge said that he felt that this guy had no concept, no idea that he'd done anything wrong. Now, so I'm just sort of putting that as the backdrop. We know that we've had other migrants who have been arrested for rape or charged and found guilty of rape. One Afghani migrant, an asylum seeker, his defence was, nobody told me that you had a different attitude to women here, a different culture and a different attitude to women here in Britain than we do in Afghanistan. That was his that was his defence. So basically, he's basically saying, well, you know, we're pretty relaxed about rape where I come from. Nobody told me you take it that seriously. He got 12.5 years. This guy's got 8.5 years, and I only mention all that as a backdrop to this extremely worrying story. Now, Epping, as you know, has been on the front line of the migrant crisis with these passionate demonstrations and protests about the Bell Hotel, in which something like 110, 120, basically young men, all young men, have been billeted there, asylum seekers, as it were. And the people of Epping don't want them there. You can't blame them, really. One of these asylum seekers at the Bell Hotel has already been convicted of sexually assaulting, I think it was a 14-year-old girl. Another one is awaiting trial on charges of sexual assault. And guess what happened today? A man was arrested on the grounds of a local school near Epping. This is the Davenant School. They found a man acting in an unusual way near the school and then entering the school grounds. He was arrested by Essex Police, and you can imagine that once again feelings are running very high in that area. Now, we don't actually know that this guy was staying at the Bell Hotel. Seems pretty likely, but we don't know for sure. But we do know he was an asylum seeker stroke migrant. I mean, this is just getting to the point where it just feels like it's out of control, doesn't it?
It is out of control. It doesn't just feel like it's out of control. It is out of control. And what this does is once again reinforces that the people who turn out and march and peacefully protest against what is being done to us and our country are not far-right nutters. They're not racists. They are people with very rational, evidence-based concerns about the impact of importing a load of people who are not at all familiar with the way we live and our values, and the impact that has on communities, and in particular on the safety of women, girls, and children. This is very rational. This is not people being just objecting on the basis of the color of someone's skin. It is based on the kinds of behaviors that we are seeing. And I'm very glad that in this case, the police evidently acted really quickly. But I'm sorry to say that this is far from the first report of this kind that I've heard. I've heard multiple similar reports from other parts of the country. All too often, it's very, very difficult as a reporter to actually stand up these stories. You know, you get tip-offs from people. My instinct is usually that they're credible. Of course, sometimes they won't be. But the police do not exactly go out of their way to help reporters stand up these stories. So I think there's an awful lot of this going on that we're not hearing about. And once again, that makes it entirely reasonable and rational for people to take to the streets and say, you know what, we've absolutely had enough of this. And I'm sure you talked about it before this evening, and you will doubtless return to it, the utter insult to the British people of the Prime Minister's absurd one-in, one-out scheme, which at present sounds as if we're going to be accepting a whole load more migrants at the weekend from France that have already been given the right to stay in the UK in return for nothing. We're just taking them. This is a bit like a kind of mini version of the Chagos deal, you know, yeah. Get shafted, basically. What Starmer has basically done is created a new legal route for migrants without stopping the illegal one. So we've now got extra legal routes.
I'm laughing. If I didn't laugh, I'd cry. But yeah, what this is going to add up to, as you quite rightly say, Isabel, we're hearing that while we fail on a serial basis to get a single migrant out of Britain and over to France on the so-called one-in, one-out scheme, the hilariously misnamed one-in, one-out scheme, they are still going to uphold their side of the bargain. And we're hearing that a plane load of French migrants, or French reject migrants, will be flown to Britain on Saturday.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, us having got no migrants over to France, because as I think I said to you, I said to anybody who wanted to listen when this scheme was first launched, I said they'll never get a single migrant back to France under this one-in, one-out scheme. I just had the excellent barrister Stephen Barrett on, and I said to him, am I right that any lawyer worth his salt could just go to a judge and say, hang on a second, this system is, they're just taking 17 migrants and picking one randomly and saying, you're the unlucky one, you're going back. I said, am I right that any lawyer can get that kicked straight out of court? He said, oh yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, justice is about fairness. That's not fair. And of course, even if that defence or that challenge failed, obviously in then comes human rights, ECHR, modern slavery, and that's why migrant after migrant after migrant is succeeding in blocking their deportation on the one-in, one-out scheme. So fairly soon it's going to be no British migrants out, loads of French migrants in. You couldn't make it up, could you?
I personally see this as a resignation issue for the Prime Minister, because he has done what he promised. He produced a year of migrants, and actually what he's doing is adding very deliberately. The scheme that he has set up has actually backfired spectacularly and is added to the cost to the taxpayer, both in the failure of the toing and froing, and now in a whole load of extra people who will have the right to bring dependents. I think that's a resignation issue on one of the most important, if not the single most important political matter of our times. he has not only broken his promise, he has actually made things very, very much worse. But you know what? We're not going to get rid of this Prime Minister. We have to leave it to his colleagues to do that.
What you meant to say there, I think, Isabel, if I could just correct you slightly, is this is today's Keir Starmer resignation issue. He has won exactly. Every single day.
That's a good point. We'll have to have that as a feature. What's the resignation issue today?
Keir Starmer resignation issue of the day. But the Daily Mail put it brilliantly this morning. Human rights fanatic Starmer is sunk by human rights. I mean, he's not getting any migrants. Yeah, but he is. He's not getting any migrants out because of his beloved human rights. It's ridiculous. Yeah. You couldn't make this stuff up. Isabel, it's really good to talk to you again. Very important story, I think we did at 8 o'clock, and we will, of course, keep everyone posted on that as it unfolds. The school saying they are investigating. They take our story very, very seriously. Isabel, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon. Isabel Oakeshott there, Talk's international editor. Right, I got the menu for the state banquet. I'll give it to you in just a minute. I'm trying to get the wine list as well. But I got the menu. I'll bring you that after the break. And then we're going to talk to a freelance journalist who has a chilling story, a sinister story to tell us about, proof, evidence that freedom of speech in this country is in deep trouble, thanks to the police who keep kind of arresting people and investigating people for tweets, for stuff they write on social media. They've got to stop this, but they can't seem to stop it. They love doing it. We'll talk about that in just a little while. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Right, we're going to go over to this very important story about freedom of speech in a few minutes, this is so important. This is the state banquet tonight. This is what the 160 guests at Windsor Castle tucked into. They're sitting behind 1,452 pieces of cutlery. By the way, how's the cost of living crisis going for you? because it doesn't really seem to be mattering very much down at Windsor, does it? I mean, you know, great. I'm glad they're all having a good time, but there's something slightly grotesque about all this. I always think this is extravagance. Slightly sticks in the craw, but anyway, sorry to be miserable. It's quite fun, really. So they're in St George's Hall at Windsor Castle. Remarkable night. And here's what the 160 guests sitting behind 1,452 pieces of cutlery tucked into, or are tucking into. They're eating right now. Starter, Hampshire watercress panna cotta with parmesan shortbread quail egg salmon. It's so pompous, isn't it? Here we go. I'll say that again. Hampshire watercress panna cotta with parmesan shortbread and quail egg salad. Followed by, that's the starter, main course, organic Norfolk chicken ballotine wrapped in courgettes with a thyme and savoury infused jus. Then the pudding is a vanilla ice cream bomb with Kentish raspberry sorbet interior with lightly poached Victoria plums. The wine list, of course, Donald Trump doesn't drink, but the other guests no doubt do. So they've got a great wine list. They've got Whiston Estate Cuvée 2016, Domaine Bonneau de Martre, Corton Charlemagne Grand Cru. No idea what these are. Cru 2018, Ridge Vineyards Montebello 2000, Paul Roger, well, that's usually a champagne, I guess, Extra Cuvée de Reserve 1998. Now, after dinner, there will be to help the meal go down, to digest the meal, 1945 vintage port in honour of Trump being the 45th president, and also a 1912 cognac from the birth year of the president's Scottish-born mum. And that's it. Also, there's a very special cocktail. There's a cocktail specially created for the night. It's called the Transatlantic Whiskey Sour, a twist on the conventional whiskey sour, blending the flavours of Johnny Walker Black and marmalade. The drink the drink will be topped with a pecan foam and a toasted marshmallow on a star-shaped biscuit. I'm quoting now, evoking the warmth of a fireside s'more. I don't even know what that is. Oh dear. I'll tell you what though, these banquets, they tend to cost hundreds of thousands of pounds, so I hope they enjoy that ludicrous meal. Anyway, why don't they just have fish and chips and a cup of tea or something like that? Fish and chips and a pint of lager. That would be funny, wouldn't it? Right, well there you go, all the news that's fit to print. Now, let's go now. I've kept her waiting a bit now, but this is a very important story. We're going to talk to a freelance journalist whose story is chilling and sinister. She's based down in Cornwall, but in the West Country. And in the manner of her job, a reporting job, she reported on Twitter that an ex-copper had been arrested for allegedly stalking and harassing someone after an investigation by West Yorkshire Police. He denies the allegation, but will stand trial at Bodmin Magistrates Court in November. Our next guest also shared on X Twitter a Plymouth Live article, that's a publication, about ex-officer Harry Tang is his name, about Harry Tang's arrest in Newquay, and then tweeted that his bail had been extended. This, folks, is all very legal stuff. This is what journalists do. Our guest then went on to post a completely unconnected a picture of her with her little daughter on a Cornish beach. This was apparently the final straw for Mr. Tang, because he claimed that because he lived nearby, he was clearly being harassed. So our guest is freelance journalist Rebecca Tidy Harris, who was called... Well, let's get her to tell her story. Rebecca, welcome to the show. And I'm
Hi, thanks for having me.
And I'm sorry you've had to go through what you have had to go through. But due to all this, at the point where you posted this picture of your daughter, Harry Tang then said, well, I live near there, she's clearly harassing me. And you were called to Plymouth police station, quite a long drive for you, by the way, to explain, and you remain actually technically under criminal investigation for harassing this guy when you were just doing your job. Tell us what happened. Well, tell us how they first got in touch with you. Just tell us the story.
Well, it's quite a bizarre story, actually. I had a phone call on my work phone inviting me into the police station for a friendly chat. And I actually assumed it was a press conference, that they wanted me to come in and chat to a police officer. So I said, actually, I'm quite busy at the moment. I can't pop in. And the officer said, well, we'll actually arrest you then. And I was just astonished because he hadn't explained why he was inviting me in for this friendly chat.
And you said no. If you don't tell me what it's about, I'm not coming to see you, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I said, yeah, well, it's, I was shocked to be accused of harassing someone, really. And he wouldn't originally say who I'd been accused of harassing or why. By the end of the call, I managed to ascertain it was this guy, this police sergeant.
Ex-police sergeant, right? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, he is an ex-police sergeant, isn't he? Of course. Yeah. He's retired now.
Yeah, but that's by the by.
Yeah.
He claimed that by you doing your job, posting the truth about him being arrested. By the way, we've got to stress he denies that he's guilty of harassment, but he will be on trial in Bodmin in November. But by doing your job, the police called you to Plymouth police station, where they basically said that you were being investigated for harassing Harry Tang.
Yeah, just for those two factual tweets and a selfie at the beach that's literally in front of my sister's house. If the police looked into it, they probably would have found 5 years of selfies on that beach in front of my sister's house. And selfies across all of Cornwall on beaches.
In your daily, you wrote a great piece in the Daily Mail yesterday. In that piece, you wrote that when the police said, "Oh, you've got to come and see us," you said, "Well, I'm not coming to see you unless you tell me what it is." You had to wait 2 months before they finally said to you, "Okay, it's because you stand accused of harassing this guy," and because you said, "Look, I am not coming in until you tell me what it is," they said to you, "We don't normally like to tell people in advance." Well, that's ridiculous.
I was astonished. Yeah, my solicitor put in probably 2-3 hours of work to find out why I was actually being told to attend the police station. They were astonished that literally I was asking or demanding to find out why. They expected me to just turn up at a certain time and speak to them.
But you eventually went, and you took your solicitor very, very wisely. How many officers at Plymouth Police Station interviewed you?
So I had 2 interviewing officers, and there was a sergeant as well, and they met with my solicitor prior to the interview as well to check that her office was a safe environment to conduct an interview.
Yeah.
So they came back a second time then, and they had all sorts of fancy equipment. It felt like a really serious inquiry. Video cameras, laptops, all sorts set up for this interview. And they'd literally been taken off the city centre streets as well. They were supposed to be policing the streets, and they'd been drawn in to do this interview. It was quite surreal.
And officially, I mean, I think that even in this kind of weird Stasi Britain that we seem to live in now, you are still being investigated, a criminal investigation. I hope and I pray and I predict nothing will come of it, but very worrying and stressful for you.
It was quite scary, actually, because I was going through my tweets wondering what on earth I could have said, who I could have said it about. But I suppose the real thing was I was worried about getting arrested in front of my child.
Yeah.
She's just 7, so it would have been quite scary for her to see her mum led away in handcuffs.
Well, yeah, and you also wrote in your article that you considered leaving the country
I did.
for a while, just to get out of this mess. But you were a bit worried that if you came back, you might get a Graham Linehan situation and get arrested at the airport. But doesn't this make you think you're just doing your job as a journalist? Journalists play a very important role in a free democracy. Doesn't this make you feel that our free democracy is getting less free?
It's terrifying. I think journalists might think twice now about tweeting something perfectly innocent and reporting the facts because they think a police officer might be at their door the next day,
it's just
upsetting their children.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. A Devon and Cornwall police spokesman said, I've got to say this, you'll understand this, Rebecca. This is a quote from the police. An allegation of harassment relating to content posted online was made to the force in March 2025. A woman aged in her 30s was interviewed as a voluntary attendee on the 1st of September and released under investigation while inquiries continue. She has not been arrested. It would not be appropriate to comment further at this time. Just to sum up, so in other words, you're still under, I mean, I don't think, I hope nothing comes of this, but you are still officially being arrested. So let's just try and sum this up. You are being investigated for reporting the story of a cop, an ex-cop who is accused of harassment, and now because of that you are accused of harassment. This is ridiculous.
It feels mad, doesn't it? Like something from a television sitcom. I never thought it could happen.
Yeah, well,
I spent 8 years teaching policing as well, so it feels all the more bizarre.
Yeah, you taught policing at university, didn't you? So
yeah,
you know what you're talking about. Well, listen, what I would say to you, Rebecca, as a fellow journalist, is don't be daunted by this. Carry on doing your job. And it is the Devon and Cornwall police who look bad here and not you. They look ridiculous. They look ridiculous. Really good to talk to you. Keep in touch. Let us know what happens, will you?
Okay, thanks very much.
Rebecca Turley-Harris there, freelance journalist. What a story. Unbelievable. What is going on in this country? It's turning into North Korea. 03444991000. Let's go to break. We'll take your calls after these messages. Stick around.
on his home turf in the Oval Office or in the East Wing of the White House, he takes a lot of questions, and he doesn't have a sort of pre-selected list like Starmer likes to have of, he knows what's coming, and he's much more of a free-for-all.
Yeah.
I suspect they're going to meet somewhere in the middle there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's tell you now, they've begun to... they're in the banquet hall now. It's descending into chaos. They're chucking bread rolls at each other. It's really going rotten. No, I'm only joking. Seriously, though, the King and the Trump and all the honoured guests. I saw Nick Faldo, Sir Nick Faldo, the golfer, earlier. So they invite people from showbiz, sport and everything. So there's 160 people there from all walks of life, as long as they're famous and rich. So they're all there. They're sitting down now for that sumptuous feast that I burst into laughter while I read out the menu. Yes, like I say, why can't they just have fish and chips and a pint of lager or something like that, followed by a Mars bar with some ice cream? How about that? That'd be good, wouldn't it? Anyway, there they are. They're all sitting down. You can see it there. And while we chat, you can watch them tuck in to this feast fit for a king and fit for a president. Now, let's go straight to the phones. We haven't got long before we go to the 9 o'clock news, but time to talk to Will in Coventry. Hi, Will.
Hi, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Yeah. You want to talk about Trump?
Yeah. What's happened? I've finished work today. I've gone into my local Wetherspoons there.
Yeah.
I've got a Trump top on.
You got a Trump top on, yeah.
A Trump top 2020.
Yeah.
Upset the doodah, yeah. And I've been refused a drink, and then I got barred for a week.
Wait a second, Will. You're in Coventry. You've been into a Wetherspoons wearing a Trump sweatshirt, am I right? And a MAGA hat or something like that, yes?
No. Just an old Trump 2020.
Trump 2020.
I've gone to the bar.
Is that a T-shirt or a hat? A T-shirt or a hat?
No. Just a sweater, yeah?
A sweater? Okay.
Trump 2020, make...
They refused you. They refused you a drink.
No, I got served at once. I got served, and then
you went back.
Came over.
Yeah.
And then they said, "Oh, the bar staff are annoyed by what you're wearing." And I said, "Well, I've just came in. I've done nothing wrong. I've just ordered the beer." But the manager came over and said, "Because what you're wearing, we're refusing to serve you anymore."
Unbelievable. Which Wetherspoons is this, Will?
This is in Coventry.
I mean, yeah, but which particular one? Do you know the street it's in? I mean, I'm presuming there might be more than one Wetherspoons in Coventry, you know?
It's a Flying Standard in the city centre of Coventry, yeah?
Yeah?
The Flying Standard is a big, massive Primark. It used to be the old... All
right.
You remember our famous old buildings?
Okay, well, listen, Well, if your story's true, and I have no reason to doubt you, Will, then the pub is very, very wrong. You're allowed to wear that. You're saying that you went into Wetherspoons and the staff just chucked you out because of what you were wearing. The manager came over to you, you got one drink, then when you tried to get another one, the manager came over to say you can't stay because of what you're wearing, yes?
He's barred me for a week. Kevin, I went to the bar and I could see the faces dropping because obviously they're all...
Yeah, sorry.
If I had a Jeremy Corbyn top, I would have got a free Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I've used the pub for 15 years.
Yeah.
And
so you've been going there. They know you. You've been going there for years, yeah?
Oh yeah, I'm regular. I'm a regular nuisance there. But
well, no, I don't say you're a nuisance. I mean, you could. So you're wearing a Trump 2020 shirt, but a sweatshirt. 2020.
Make the Liberals cry again. It's full of plaster because I'm a plasterer, yeah? So I've gone to the bar and I get there and they say, the man who comes over goes, you're upsetting bar staff, and then you might upset customers.
Upsetting the bar staff because you're wearing a Trump jumper. You're kidding me.
Right, mate. Yeah. Definitely.
God.
And then I've gone back up again to get served. They give me my money back and said, you're barred for a week.
And
then on the TV, there's the King and Camilla fucking kissing his ass, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're sitting there. Well, we're looking at the King making a speech right now, and he's standing right next to Donald Trump. My God, well, listen, thank you for that excellent story. We'll keep in touch with you, and we'll have a word with Witherspoons and find out what the hell's going on. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry you got kicked out. I hope you can get a drink in another pub. Good to talk to you, Will. Thanks for the call. Will in Coventry got sent to Coventry, got sent out of the pub in the Wetherspoons, he says. We'll try and check that out, but if that's true, that's extraordinary, and Wetherspoons maybe have got some questions to answer, and we will ask those questions. Next up, we're going to talk about the funniest anti-Trump protest so far. We've got a video. You're going to love it. That next. Stay tuned.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, well, say now, well, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're just watching the King now. He is flanked by Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and he is making his speech. It will be, of course, a load of platitudes about our two great nations, special relationship, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, this is an important visit, seriously. You know, I've been making light of it, laughing at the menu and everything. But it's very important. It's very important we do this for Donald Trump. He's loving it. We're putting on a hell of a show for him this afternoon. You know, they had the flyover of the Red Arrows, all the marching soldiers and everything. Quite a show for both Donald and Melania, sitting there watching it down at Windsor with the King and Queen Camilla. So, you know, it is important. It is important in terms of our relationship with America, because Donald loves this stuff. He loves Britain and he loves the royal family. So, you know, I've been laughing about it, but it's important. I mean, we've already, looks like sort of certain trade deals are being done. Not as good as we might have hoped, but not at all bad. A lot of nuclear deals being done. So behind the scenes with these kind of visits, that's where the action happens. It's not just drinking cocktails and champagne at flash state banquets. It's about the two countries getting together, you know, making strategic contracts, making commercial contracts. So this could benefit the country greatly and hopefully benefit America as well. So let's be serious about it for a second. That said, let's not be serious about it anymore, because we're going to talk about what was the funniest protest so far. We talked earlier in the show about the Stop Trump Coalition. Stop Trump Coalition, and there's been protests today, a demonstration in central London. We saw last night them projecting pictures of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, his old mate, onto the wall of Windsor Castle. So, you know, there's been this sort of embarrassing backdrop to the whole affair. The King reported to be absolutely furious that he's been plunged into this embarrassing situation, frankly, by our hapless Prime Minister's incompetence in appointing that loser Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, to the position, the crucial role, the diplomatic role of ambassador to Washington. Of course, he had to be fired at the end of last week for obvious reasons, because he's like Prince Andrew. He's the Prince Andrew of politics. Prince Andrew's disgrace, it's not so much that he was a friend of Epstein. A lot of people were friends of Epstein. Trump was for a while, Bill Clinton. But Jeffrey Epstein was convicted in 2008 for soliciting a minor. He went to prison for it. So he then became a convicted paedophile. Peter Mandelson and Prince Andrew kept up with their friendship with this guy after that conviction. Mandelson wrote these excruciating, toe-curling emails, you know, sort of saying, "Oh, we love you, Jeffrey, this is terrible, why don't you try and get a shorter sentence," and so on and so forth. That is beyond the pale. As I say, that's Prince Andrew's downfall, was not knowing him. You can know the guy. Staying friends with him after he became a convicted paedophile. Prince Andrew did it, and Mandelson did it. So because Starmer should never have appointed Mandelson, the man is a bribable disaster. He just lurches from scandal to scandal to scandal. You know, give him a free holiday, take him for a ride on your luxury yacht, let him stay in your flash apartment or your flash Caribbean island, and he's in your pocket. It's the story of his checkered career. So the King is furious that Starmer ever appointed this guy, and leading to this embarrassment, that the backdrop to all of this, what we're seeing now, this pomp and ceremony, which, by the way, Britain does brilliantly, is this story of humiliation, this story of embarrassment. And of course, there haven't really been too many press conferences yet, but there will be, and the only questions will be about Jeffrey Epstein. And Trump, you know, it's water off a duck's back to him. He's Teflon Don. He doesn't really care. He's used to scandal. He just doesn't care. But those around him, the King, and many other dignitaries, are furious with Starmer for his incompetence. Everybody knew Mandelson would go down the pan. Everybody knew, apparently, apart from our Prime Minister. Pop fact, this is unbelievable. Listen, Greg Swenson's in the studio, and we're going to play you. Greg was present at a hilarious protest last night. We'll play you the video in a little while. I skipped over the King's speech, but President Trump is speaking now, so let's have a quick listen to him.
But this is truly one of the highest honors of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country. For many decades, His Majesty the King has epitomized the fortitude, nobility, and the spirit of the British monarchy and the British people. He's dedicated himself to preserving the glory and unique character of this kingdom, restoring life to the rivers and streams, supporting the works of its artists and composers, planting trees and gardens in its countryside. And I just visited one of the most beautiful I've ever seen that you just completed, and protecting the architectural integrity of cities, villages, and towns. He has uplifted the poor, cared for rural farmers, and tended to wounded veterans like nobody else. I'll tell you that I just stood in line and shook about 150 hands, and the King knew every single person and every single company, and some of them had bad names like XYZ-Q3, and he knew every one of them, or at least I think he did, because nobody was complaining. I was very impressed with that. But I just want to say that His Majesty has also raised a remarkable son in His Royal Highness Prince of Wales. Really amazing. We've gotten to know you, and I think you're going to have an unbelievable success in future. Melania and I are delighted to visit again with Prince William and to see Her Royal Highness Princess Catherine, so radiant and so healthy, so beautiful. It's really a great honor. Thank you. Many years ago, His Majesty opened his archives to a biographer. Among the documents was a letter from 1993 in which he described the patriotism and guided his many projects. He wrote that he was, quote, entirely motivated by a desperate desire to put the great back into Great Britain. In the finest tradition of British sovereigns, he has given his whole heart, everything he's got, to those parts of Britain that are beyond the realm of mere legislation. It's not easy, but which define its essence and its virtue, its harmony and its soul. It's an amazing calling, and there's nobody that's answered that calling like you have. A fifth of all of humanity speaks, writes, thinks, and prays in the language born on these isles and perfected in the pages of Shakespeare and Dickens and Tolkien, Lewis, Orwell, and Kipling. Incredible people, unbelievable people like we have rarely seen before, probably won't see again. The lion-hearted people of this kingdom defeated Napoleon, unleashed the Industrial Revolution, destroyed slavery, and defended civilization in the darkest days of fascism and communism. The British gave the world the Magna Carta, the modern parliament, and Francis Bacon's scientific method. They gave us the works of Locke, and Hobbes, Smith, and Burke, Newton, and Blackstone. The legal, intellectual, cultural, and political traditions of this kingdom have been among the highest achievements of mankind. There's really never been anything like it. The British Empire laid the foundations of law, liberty, free speech, and individual rights virtually everywhere the Union Jack has ever flown, including a place called America. You know that place very well, don't you? His Majesty spoke eloquently about the bond which inspired Sir Winston Churchill, and the bust is in the Oval Office right now, the beautiful bust of Winston Churchill, to coin the phrase special relationship. But seen from American eyes, the word special does not begin to do it justice. We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language, and by transcendent ties of culture, tradition, ancestry, and destiny. We're like two notes in one chord, or two verses of the same poem, each beautiful on its own, but really meant to be played together. The bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal. It's irreplaceable and unbreakable, and we are, as a country, as you know, doing unbelievably well. We had a very sick country 1 year ago, and today, I believe we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. In fact, nobody's even questioning it, but we owe so much of that to you and the footing that you gave us when we started. Together, we've done more good for humanity than any two countries in all of history. Together, we must defend the exceptional heritage that makes us who we are, and we must continue to stand for the values and the people of the English-speaking world, and we do indeed stand for that. On behalf of all Americans, I offer a toast to one of the great friendships, to two great countries, and to His Majesty, King Charles III, a very, very special man, and also a very, very special queen. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with you.
Well, there you are. That was a very... Greg Spencer's here from the Republican Overseas Organisation. He hops between both countries now. He used to be based here permanently, but for tax reasons, Keir Starmer's in there, Greg. Maybe you should have a word with him. For tax reasons, he now has to spend a lot of time back in America, but he's still, he's here now. That was a nice speech.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, very nice speech. So,
Absolutely.
I probably should have played out the Kings, but it would have been along the same lines, you know, Winston Churchill, you know, historic bonds. But, you know, he's good at that, old Trump, isn't he? He is good.
And as you said, he loves this country. He loves the United Kingdom.
Well, look, they're now, so they're playing the national anthem and they're sort of toasting, well, each other, really. I think they're probably toasting the King. And they'll now sit down to this extraordinary banquet. I'm not going to go through it again. I just read out what they're going to eat. It took me about 20 minutes. And all the drinks, all these flashy names. So anyway, they're tucking into their extremely expensive meal, their banquet, their feast. But as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by the President of the United States that there's been a lot of protests. You saw the projection of Epstein and Trump onto the walls of Windsor Castle, protests in central London today. That little pipsqueak mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, writing a very rude, nasty, insulting article in The Guardian about our visiting friend of this country, President Donald Trump. I think we could show a little bit more courtesy than that, but that courtesy isn't really Sadiq Khan's style, is it? Anyway, we're talking about the protests, and well, basically, Greg happened to be at a protest last night. So Greg's organisation, the Republican Overseas, had a dinner in Windsor to celebrate the arrival of Donald Trump, because he arrived last night. You'll remember we covered it on last night's show. Came in on Air Force One, flew by helicopter to the American ambassador's residence, fabulous residence in Regent's Park in central London. So we covered that last night. While that was happening, Greg and his friends paid tribute to their president with a special dinner in Windsor. And it looked like a great fun event. It didn't go entirely to plan. There was a protest there, as I say, the funniest of all the protests. Well, let's just play you the whole damn video. This is what happened.
I'm sure we're all here because we back Donald Trump. What we know about Donald Trump is that he's here to do the bold policies. He's here to take the steps where other people refuse to tread. And he's here in our country to spread those ideas here. And what do those ideas mean? Well, they mean by 2050, 4 billion people succumbing to the climate crisis. They mean the war in Gaza. They mean a huge, terrible, absolutely catastrophic, cascading collapse of impacts that beyond our wildest imagination. Fires, floods, globally, to affect us all and kill billions in their wake. We should not be here to support this president. He only leads us down a path of fascism and climate collapse. It is clear that this man is a madman. He is going to send us into an early grave.
Have we got the rest of that video? Because that's when Greg comes in. Can't we play? Where's the rest of the damn video? Yeah, but Greg's in that bit. Damn. Well, we're going to get the rest of the damn video. Greg then comes in because this woman, somehow or other, had managed to infiltrate it. So she started her speech.
Yeah, I mean,
you didn't really know who she was.
She tricked us all.
Yeah, you felt that, oh, she's one of us, or we're here to celebrate. And then she sort of changed direction. Yeah.
But also, when she first got up, I thought, okay, that's nice that she's being patriotic, but I looked at Mary Ellen and I'm thinking, I'm the host of this dinner. Yeah, like I'm the host of this dinner.
Who is this?
Who is this woman upstaging me? You know, like it's kind of uncool to just start the first toast.
Yeah.
So then it changed quickly, and so I guess
because hopefully we'll get the rest of the video.
So I ran up to her, to sort of stop her, block her, didn't want to touch her and get in trouble. But then the guy stepped up and held that stupid banner.
What was it? Say something about oily
money kills or something.
Oily money kills, and she tried to no avail, as you can imagine. These are patriots. These are mainly American patriots, like
many British. I mean,
British
probably
as well.
60-40.
Yeah, and then she tried to get a chant going of how many people will you kill if you drill, baby, drill?
Yeah, that's great. It was like very 1960s.
Yeah.
You know, of 1968 kind of protest. It was just such nonsense, and we were kind of laughing, and then and you'll see.
No, it was funny. So I think we got the other. So then what was it? The oily money kills guy.
Right.
You got rid of him in no uncertain fashion. Not you personally, but you enlisted the help of one Andre Walker of this parish. Have we got that video?
Just give me a minute. I'm knackered.
Oh, yeah. And free speech is what you believe. Respond to free speech by trying to kick me in the punch me in the face.
So that's Andre Walker saying that he's knackered, and also I think he might have used the F word there. I'm shocked.
Yes.
Andre, I didn't know that you had a potty mouth. But hopefully, but you said to me earlier today, so that's Andre carrying this guy out.
Yeah.
And of course they always do this. Oh, you manhandled me, you punched me, you broke the law. Oh, shut up. You shouldn't have gone there then, should you? But you said that you got hold of the police, because you never quite know with these, and they were there in about 10 seconds.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is there were so many police in that area. I mean, the Guildhall's 100 meters from Windsor Castle. So and I was there earlier in the afternoon. It was still light out. There were police everywhere, right? Mounted police, on foot, on bicycles, in cars. So, it wasn't hard to find a policeman. And I think they just dragged the guy out on the sidewalk. I would have.
So they managed to get in. Yeah. So you're hosting the event. You're with your wife, Mary Ellen, among friends. And so suddenly there's this English woman making a speech. And you're thinking, who the hell is this? Oh, well, she seems to be talking our language. Let her go. And then she sort of like subtly changed direction.
It was well done. I think it was kind of creative. And she was, and I think she was able to fool everybody because she was well dressed. I'm not, all relative, but she wasn't dressed like a hippie or a protester.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk through Westminster today, it's all these people that are unemployable. Where she looked like she could have been, working in the city or working
for an oil company, maybe.
Yeah, that's right, at BP. So, but we were all kind of. I mean, once we got rid of them, people were clapping. It was funny, and then of course we stole the colors. We took the guy's banner, and as he was going down, one of the other guys grabbed it, and so we had a lot of fun with that. Needless to say.
So let me ask you this, Greg: did you invite Andre Walker to this event, or was he there was he there as a security guard?
It was actually, that's funny. Although his mate,
it's his other job, he's a security guard.
His mate, the other guy in there, I forget his name. His mate was the security guy, and so Andre and he came charging up, from the other side of the room, and it was quite the scene. But no, it was Andre's idea to do this dinner because
he lives in Windsor.
He lives in Windsor, and so he had access to Windsor Guildhall.
What was was that Windsor Guildhall?
It was the real, built in the late 1600s. It looked spectacular place for a party. We had cocktails on the terrace. It was a great venue, and turned out to be an even better night than we expected because of these clown protesters.
Well, I was hoping we would have got to the end of that video. It was posted on TikTok, got loads and loads of views. But I will say, because somebody sent it to me, and I thought, this is funny. And I'm just watching it. I was literally just woken up. I was watching it in bed, going, what the hell is this? And then suddenly I see you. I thought, that's Greg. What the hell is going on here? Now, you're right. We didn't have the right footage, but I noticed you were very careful not to in any way manhandle her, and it looked like she sort of took it quite well when you said
I was surprised. She could have gone full protest. I think I've sat next to this woman. She came in and protested at Scott's, the seafood restaurant. I was sitting next to...
What was she protesting about? She didn't like
fishing.
The lobster wasn't to her taste. This food is dreadful.
What they did is they followed the actor Pierce Brosnan was sitting next to me. I think it was in the Daily Mail or the Guardian. So they followed Pierce Brosnan and his wife to the restaurant, and they saw him go into Scott's, sat next to us coincidentally, and then they stormed in the restaurant and sat next to him, and they would not move. The police or the waiters or both had to carry her out in the chair. So
she went a bit more. She went a bit more quietly.
She's a bit of a nutter, but she did go quietly, and I thought, at least she did that. But the guy would not go quietly. So Andre and his mate had to take care of him. It was great. I wish they could. You could put the still picture up of the three of us with the banner, and the cheer at the end of every toast the rest of the night was just stop oil. It was great.
So you turned a negative into a big positive. It was almost like the kind of banner event of
the feedback has been outrageous, and the publicity's been great.
Exactly.
It's really great.
Oh my God! I'm just looking at Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary at this state dinner. Shouldn't she be dealing with the migrant crisis and not? She's wearing she looks very nice, but surely she should be up at the Home Office trying to sort out this mess, the migrant crisis, but no.
Why would she do that?
Is that Ed Balls I'm looking at there? Man, the guest list gets worse and worse and worse. Listen, if we go to break, let's have more of a serious discussion about this visit when we come back. So I'm with Greg Swenson, host of Windsor Parties, and when we come back, we'll get a bit more serious about this visit and what it all means. So stay tuned, folks.
tells me that number 10 have been trying to keep quite a tight lid on the number of questions that will be asked.
Funny that.
Donald Trump, he's a pretty freewheeling guy, but he is also the guest here. Normally, when he hosts these sort of press conferences on his home turf in the Oval Office or in the East Wing of the White House, he takes a lot of has, and he doesn't have a sort of pre-selected list like Starmer likes to have of, he knows what's coming, and he's much more of a free-for-all.
Yeah.
I suspect they're going to meet somewhere in the middle there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Greg Swenson, hero of the hour last night, as his dinner for the Republican Overseas Organisation in Windsor was infiltrated by protesters, but it all turned into a very funny event, made even funnier by Andre Walker, who usually makes everything a bit more funny, actually. Do you fancy this as a cocktail, Greg? Transatlantic Whiskey Sour. It's a twist on conventional whiskey sour, blending the flavours of Johnny Walker Black and marmalade. The drink is topped with a pecan foam and toasted marshmallow on a star-shaped biscuit, evoking the warmth of a seaside s'more, whatever that means. That's the cocktail there.
I would have stopped after bourbon.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was, Johnny Walker.
Somebody offered me that, so you got a beer.
Yeah. Just leave the other 6 ingredients out.
Yes, exactly.
Don't even put an ice cube in there.
Yeah. Did you see what they've eaten? What they're eating?
I'm really excited to hear it.
Yeah. Okay. You're gonna hear it.
Thrilled.
Hampshire watercress panna cotta with parmesan shortbread and quail egg salad. Organic Norfolk chicken ballotine wrapped in courgette with a thyme and savoury infused jus. Vanilla ice cream bomb with Kentish raspberry sorbet interior with a lightly poached Victoria plum. Do you think the president would have enjoyed that?
I think he will. Yeah. Or McDonald's.
Yeah.
He's probably going to hit McDonald's on the way home.
Yeah, there's a very... Do you know, at one point, the McDonald's in Windsor was the only McDonald's in the country that wasn't painted in the traditional colours. It was, I think it's a kind of...
I walked by it
It's a royal
today.
blue.
I walked by it. It sort of blends in.
So Windsor said we'll have a McDonald's, but we're not going to have it in your garish red colours. So it's in royal blue. Anyway, so I'm sure that the president probably right now is on his way over to get himself a Big Mac. But seriously, let's talk seriously about it. I mean, first of all, he loves this.
He does.
This will be good for the special relationship because he loves the royal family. He loves Britain. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you, did I? There was a after dinner drinks, even though the president doesn't drink. Vintage port from 1945. Oh. That was a nod to the president because he's the 45th president. But this is one you'll like. A Hennessy 1912 Cognac Grand Champagne. And that was served because it coincides with the date of the birth year of Trump's mum.
Wow.
1912.
That's nice.
It's a nice touch, nice touch. So there's the niceties, but the backdrop to this is I do believe there's been some nuclear deals, trade agreements. Behind the scenes on these state visits, concrete achievements unfold, don't they? So tell us about that.
And it's a great benefit to this country, and that's another reason I think the protesters are insane, because they're protesting against things that will help the working people of this country, like all those jobs. Most of those nuclear facilities are going to be in these sort of, northern level up towns, as they used to call it. So it's great for this country. $31 billion so far that we know about in foreign direct investment coming into the UK, nuclear, tech, data centers. And when I first heard about the data centers, and specifically the $5 billion from Microsoft, I thought that's a little small for Microsoft, only $5 billion. But also, how are you going to power these these data centers and these AI facilities. The most expensive part of those things is air conditioning and electricity, right?
Yeah. AI takes more power than almost anything on Earth.
Absolutely. And
so requires more power.
So why would you open any sort of a business like that or a data center in a country where the electricity costs 5 times as much here as it does in the U.S.? Well, 2 reasons. One is you still have to locate them in different places. So there might have been some practical reason to overcome that. But also, they're talking nuclear. Something's got to power all these things. And I think that's a fantastic, strategically, philosophically, that's great news. Not just the money, not just the practical parts of it, but I do think they're sending a message that, that Great Britain can be great again. And let's start with some of the things that we're doing in America and hopefully spread that philosophy here.
Yeah, I've got a text here. Unfortunately, it didn't put their name on, but it's a very good text. Wow, great speech. By Trump, there is no way any Labour politician would make that speech. That's true. Defeated Napoleon, ended slavery, saved the world from fascism, and he has Churchill's bust in his office, the Oval Office. Starmer took down Churchill's portrait.
Wow.
This is it, Greg. This is it, Greg. Your
it's
politicians.
Just outrageous.
Yeah, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. These guys are the ones who worry about our erosion of freedom of speech. We don't have any politicians who seem to give a damn.
That's right, and it's interesting. He doesn't do it. Those guys don't do this out of condescension or judging or virtue signaling. They do it because they care about the UK, and not only because of the cultural ties and the historical ties, but because they just like the people and they like this country and they know that it's an important ally. And so you hate to see these things happening here. And the other thing to keep in mind is we had the same problems in America only a year ago, in the last 4 years, or the 4 years of the Biden White House. And it's amazing how easy it is to fix those things.
Yeah.
We fixed the boats, or our version of the boats, which was illegal migration across the Mexican border, the sex trafficking, the fentanyl trafficking, which the Democrats all apparently like. And so, so we fixed some of the erosions in free speech, the censorship. Tulsi Gabbard's doing a great job of that to make sure it never happens again.
Cancelled wokery on day one, didn't he?
Absolutely.
This is what we're going to do.
No
about
more
wokery.
DEI.
We're not going to have it anymore.
Yeah. It wasn't just some slow change.
I know, it was amazing.
Just no more DEI in the government. And guess who followed? The big banks, the big corporations.
Yeah.
They all got rid of it too.
But not Britain, of course.
Well, even HSBC has got rid of it.
No, I mean, a few British firms.
But
business,
not the country, not the government. You're right.
Business began to get a little sensible, more sensible.
Common sense revolution.
You still get a lot of craziness.
It's so easy. And if we can change the culture here, I don't mean change the entire culture, but just change some of these easily changeable things that are 80-20 issues. They poll at 20. Sorry, men playing in women's sports, that doesn't poll very well. I don't think you need to persuade people that that's a bad idea. So
exactly
it's
right.
just easy.
But what do you think? The last sort of question, really. I mean, Trump's no fool. And I think he does worry about Britain. And now he's come here at a time where, let's face it, this country, this country well, it is falling apart at the seams. This migrant crisis, the one in, one out scheme, an absolute joke, a complete shambles. Freedom of speech, people getting arrested at the airport for tweets and so on and so forth. Trump must think, what is going on in this place?
Yeah, and again, he probably wonders. But again, you look back at our own country. We were doing the same thing starting in 2021. And so I remember you and I would talk a lot about wokeism and DEI and ESG and all the other acronyms and misfits. And the pushback started in America. I mean, let's face it, we exported all this insanity.
You gave us it first.
Right.
Thanks very much.
But then the pushback started in America much earlier. And so, it took a while, but once we had that election in November of last year, it turbocharged. The pushback helped get him elected, and then January 21st, no more DEI, no more 6-foot men in women's sports, No, no more petrol prices going through the roof.
I think it's very important. I'll tell you why. As you say, you lot gave us wokery. You gave us all this nonsense.
Sorry about that.
We embraced it. And what tends to happen in America, we tend to follow. So America has cancelled all of that nonsense thanks to Donald Trump, and hopefully we will follow suit. And you're right, there are signs. I mean, the government won't be any good in this respect. They're a bunch of human rights obsessed woke idiots. But they won't last for long. Starmer won't last for long. And as you say, business companies are starting to get a little less insane. So fingers crossed. Greg, thank you so much for coming in.
Great to see you, Kevin.
Always a pleasure. That's Greg Swenson from the Republican Overseas Organisation. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, it's a busy night. I had to play Trump's speech, so I apologise. Didn't get enough of your calls in, but we will be taking them after this break. So stay tuned and get on the blower. 0344499 1000. Talk in a minute.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's time to take your calls now. So let's go straight over to Martin in Cambridge. Hi, Martin.
Hello, Kevin. Yeah, it's basically, I was just thinking about this. We're forget party politics. We're now into a two ideologies world. Nation state versus a world, open borders and all the rest of it. And that's where we are. And I mean, the people on the march and the vast majority of people, I think, in this country want it how it used to be, where, safety on the streets, we had a certain camaraderie between people and we all lived together. And it didn't matter where you came from, as long as everybody was felt as if they were part of something. And you've got those on the left who despise us. Despise that view. And that's why they tear statues down. Look at ISIS, what they did at Palmyra. They tore down, something which was 3,000 years old because it was built before their ideology.
I get that. I'm not sure ISIS are on the left.
No, but you get the point.
I would say that with groups like ISIS, it's one of the rare times where the term far right is appropriate. You see what I mean?
Yeah, but what my point is that What the far left want to do is to tear down our history, like the ISIS did with Palmyra. I know they're not.
I take your point. It is this demonisation. The left have this kind of impulse, this obsession with demonising anyone who dares to be right of centre. So anyone who's right of centre, to them, is far right. In other words, people with perfectly legitimate, pretty much centrist opinions are depicted by the left as extremists, dangerous extremists.
Absolutely.
And it is them who are dangerous for this over-the-top rhetoric.
Absolutely. So basically what Blair did was, that's why he wanted 50% of the people to go to university. It's indoctrination, and that's where it all comes from. And they've infiltrated all our society. And all the basic British person wants, a high street that are vibrant, be proud of their country, identify with where they live. And we never had a vote on it, Kevin. We've had massive change in the last 20, 30 years that we've never had a vote on. And that is what people are rebelling against, because we weren't asked. And those on the left, they despise us. Look at Khan and what he's doing and all the rest of it. And all these people, they hate everything about.
Yeah, they're the hate-filled people. I agree with you. They're the hate-filled people. And look at the way so many of them are behaving after the tragedy of Charlie Kirk. Not only do they continue to insult him, insult his memory, they're revelling in it. It's become now fashionable. Yeah, he deserved, he had it coming. They're loving it. They think it's hilarious. The lack of humanity among these people is extraordinary. It's chilling, it's sinister, but that's the way they are. I agree with you, Martin. Very good points. I better move on because I better take another call, but very good to talk to you. Thank you so much. We've got quite a lot of tweets about that teacher who told her pupils she supports Palestine action and will be going to a demonstration to break the law. And lots and lots of messages, but don't know if I have quite enough time to read too many of them. Let's go to David in London. Hi, David.
Hi, Kevin. It's about Sadiq Khan's salary.
Yeah, 170 grand a year. Britain's highest paid politician.
Yeah. Kevin, the only thing I can put it down to is the worse you perform or the more cruel you are to Londoners, the better.
Yeah, don't forget he was knighted. This guy's ruined London. He's ruined London.
Yeah.
It's made it very unsafe.
Yeah.
People getting stabbed to death left, right and centre. He gets knighted and now he gets a pay rise of £5 grand, taking him up to £170,000 a year, which makes him Britain's highest paid politician. He gets about £3,000 a year more than the Prime Minister.
Yeah. It's absolute misery for everyone on the roads, Kevin. It's dreadful stuff.
Oh, yeah, the roads as well. It's right. He's obsessed with clean air. He's turned London into a gridlock. Yeah, you're right. He's a disaster, an absolute disaster. Just showboating his sort of ludicrous sixth form left-wing politics, calling us all far right, calling Donald Trump far right. And so he's obsessed with far right. Silly little man. David, got to move on, though. Good call. Thank you. WhatsApp voice notes. Here's Nick on the teacher story that we did earlier.
Hi, Kevin. Not all teachers and lecturers are woke. Many of us are the silent majority and think so much of this is utter nonsense. Don't assume that we're all on that woke spectrum.
Well, nobody said, Nick, nobody said that all teachers are woke or all teachers are left-wing. No one was suggesting that. But there are fears that a lot are. And there are fears that our kids at school are being brainwashed by left-leaning teachers. That is a narrative that continues apace. So nobody's suggesting all teachers are like that, of course. Take your point, Nick. Thank you. Here's Carl on the state banquet.
Hi, Kevin. Just been looking at wines. The Domaine Bonneau d'Amartre champagne wine that you mentioned is £1,000 a bottle. That's not bad going, is it? Why can't I be invited to something like this? I wouldn't mind. I paid for it. be a British taxpayer.
Yeah, they're all dining in style. I mean, I don't know how much this one's costing, but they usually go into six figures. I mean, there's more than 160 people dining in the finest of style. I didn't realise those wines were that expensive, but they're certainly not going to be sort of £7.50 bottles of Plonk from Tesco's, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, £1,000 a bottle. I bet the others are very expensive as well. So, this will cost a fortune, I suppose it's necessary. I suppose it's important that we, lay on one hell of a spread for visiting dignitaries, that we sort of treat them to British style. It's worth spending the money, but there's something doesn't quite sit right with me when you know so many people are struggling financially, when you look at this scene of splendour and £1,000 bottles of wine and God knows what. So I don't know. There you go. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Mark in Lincolnshire. You want to talk about one in, one out? Well, it's not really one in, one out at all, is it, Mark?
It isn't, hi, Kev, mate. It's been a few weeks since I spoke to you. Yeah, what it is, I just wanted to really quickly address one thing. One of your callers there, not David, the one before, he was talking about the left's reaction to the Charlie Kirk thing.
Mm-hmm.
All these
yeah.
celebrating it all. You should check out the reaction to that's happened in the States, where those people are now getting essentially cancelled.
What, the people who've
attacked? Thousands of them that were making these sick videos celebrating and...
Yeah, well, you know what I feel about that is I'm torn, I'm divided by that kind of information because, you know, I don't condone what they do. I think it's disgusting. It's to dance on a dead man's grave, a young husband, 31 years old, loving husband, loving father of two young little kids. I think it's disgusting to revel in his sad death, to dance on his grave. But if people are getting cancelled for that, I'm not all that thrilled about that because I don't believe in cancellation.
But is it cancel culture, Kev? Because cancel culture is cancelling somebody because of their political opinions. What this is basically advising an employer, because they've used their free speech to do a despicable, immoral thing, which is celebrate the death of somebody. Okay, so is it therefore cancel culture? Is it wrong to then use your free speech to advise their employer that you think that is disgusting behaviour?
Yeah, this is disgusting, but should people be cancelled for that, though?
I mean, in my opinion, I don't
think anybody should be cancelled for what they say. I mean, I hate what they're saying. I hate what they're doing. But if you want freedom of speech, it has to cut both ways.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, Kev. Fair enough. I mean, I'm kind of a little bit split on it, but generally speaking, I'm kind of in favour of it because, I just think celebrating that kind of thing is disgusting. Having a go at somebody because of their political opinions, that's a different matter. That's
it's disgusting, and and if bosses want to fire people for that sort of thing, I suppose that's their prerogative, that's their freedom too. That doesn't mean to say I have to approve of it. It's like that Oxford president guy, the president of the Oxford Union, who sort of debated with Charlie Kirk and then sort of said, whoa, let's go, he's being shot, and he thinks that's fantastic. People say, oh, he should be thrown out of that position, he should be, thrown out of the university. I don't agree. I don't like what he said. I think what he said is pathetic and wrong and vile. But, as I say, people... If you believe in free speech, you have to let people say that kind of thing without them being cancelled, without them being sacked, without them being kicked out of university. That's where I stand. That is in no way to condone a single word that these ghouls are saying about Charlie Kirk. It is disgusting. But I'm afraid in a free country, I think they should be allowed to do it. That's where I stand on that. You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you, Kev. I know what you're saying, mate.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Right, very quickly then, on one in, one out, mate.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah. Well, I remember speaking to you when, just after the Labour Party got in last year, and I recall saying to you, this law will legalise illegal migration. The one in, one out deal is exactly that, because they were well aware when they created that deal. They were well aware they were not going to be able to send anybody back because they knew fine well that the lawyers would step in, as we've seen.
I'm not sure they did predict this. I mean, that's the problem with them. They're so useless. Everyone else could see this coming. They seem to think it might work.
Well, how on earth they might think that, I have no idea.
Well, because they're useless and they're not that bright. That's why.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, the reality, we're going to end up getting migrants coming back.
Well, we are on Saturday, by the looks of it. Yeah, this deal is going to add up to no British migrants out, loads of French migrants in. Looks like the first plane load's coming from France the other way on Saturday. Meanwhile, we can't get anyone out. It's an absolute shambles. It really is. Mark, I've got to move on, but point taken. Thank you very much. Another good call from you, as always. Mark in Lincolnshire. Let's go to Tarquin in London. Hello, mate. What would you like to say?
Best radio show on the planet, as you know.
Of course it is. There's no doubt about
Indeed.
that.
And when you say at the end of the show, and I've been mediocre, Kevin, you're way better than mediocre. You're brilliant.
Yeah, slightly better than mediocre. But anyway, you want to talk about Sadiq Khan? Far right.
I'm like yourself. I'm massively into linguistics and semantics. Well, you know, when it's raining, there's nothing else to do. Basically, where Sadiq Khan and his best mate, who's a good friend of mine, Starmer. Do you remember he said that?
Mind you, Starmer does not like Sadiq Khan. He never has. He sees him as a threat and a rival.
Well, that's true. Yeah, there's a subtext there. This thing about far right, this whole thing far right.
Yeah.
If you're way out on the left, you know, Long March, Chairman Mao territory, and you look back to the centre, then even people like where you are, set slightly right of centre, that would look far right when you're a Fabian globalist.
Well, no, that's it. That's it. You see, I mean, I'm right of centre. I see myself as a sort of centrist. I'm quite sort of a bit of a lefty on a lot of social issues, quite liberal in that respect. But because I'm essentially a right of centre guy, I'm not. You know, I'm not a very right-wing guy. I'm just fairly right-wing. Yeah, but because of that, Tarquin, you know, I say you're the same. You're the same. People like Sadiq Khan, there is no grading for them. If you're on the right side of the line, you are immediately far right. Sadiq Khan thinks that every Conservative MP is far right. Every Reform MP is far right. And you know, it's a joke. He's a sixth form idiot. However, we found out last week where this kind of extreme talk leads to. It leads to death and violence.
Well, why it's so dangerous is if you lump into everybody from the Pink Ladies to Oswald Mosley as far right, that's all one and the same, then you've effectively dehumanised half of humanity, which then leads you to things like Treblinka, Auschwitz, Belsen. If you dehumanise people into just blobs...
That's right, that's a very good point. As I say, there is no nuances in people like Sadiq Khan's worldview. If you're right of centre, you're all far right. You're all Nazis. You're all fascists. And we saw last week where that kind of extreme talk, they call us extremists.
That's right.
They are the extremists in their rhetoric. It's dangerous. We found that out last week. We really, really did. Tarquin, always a pleasure to talk to you. Give me a call tomorrow night. Let's have a chat. Tarquin in London. Now, in about 44 seconds' time, this show will end. Then we'll have some commercials. Then the 10 o'clock news. Then it's Harry Cole Saves the West, episode 3. He's going to be doing this show at 10 o'clock from Monday to Thursday every week. So it's been a blockbuster so far, so I hope you tune in tonight. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you've enjoyed this show. It's been another unusual show. Always is, but with me in charge. But always good to have you tuning in. I always enjoy your company. I hope you find mine vaguely okay. As I say, you have been an amazing audience. I've been a mediocre presenter. I'll be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Harry Cole Saves the West next.
Birdie tells me that Number 10 have been trying to keep quite a tight lid on the number of questions that will be asked.
Funny that.
Donald Trump, he's